Hey, what is up, everybody? How's it going? There's so many points in life, but welcome to another episode of Pancake Marathon, where, maybe it's time to do a 180 and then start doing a 360. I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about here today, but there's so many points where, man, I realize I want to talk about this, and this, and all of these things, but usually I just talk about where I'm at in my life. And it's not that I did not want to make other episodes of this podcast. It's just, you know, here I am right now. And it's it's a challenge to live life on life's terms, and I kind of want to highlight this whole try thing, in step 12, because some would say, try? What? That's your best? Are you a keeper? Because you're going to keep on going. And so, simply to say, though, as it stands, as it can be, as it, takes shape, there are those that would say, try? No, you do. Oh, okay. To me, in recovery, there are points to where you try. Oh, because that's the same thing as doing, right? To me, that this is what it is. And so simply to say, you know, because yeah, there's that context too where in the beginning of life and recovery, that's all you maybe think about. That's maybe you're just there for a bed. Maybe you're just, acting as if and you're being seen as a hypocrite or whatever is clever, faking it till you make it, right? There's a point where maybe some would say fake it till you make it. That's cool. Yet, in a sense of saying of what it is the simple fact of the matter that of, act as if, right? Okay, so what does that even mean? You know, so it's not that you're trying to deny what is life itself and all of those things of what you're going through, and yet simply to say, you know, act as if. So you put the effort and your focus into, I guess in a simple way of saying, you never go ahead and dig up the seed to see if it's growing, right? You just keep on watering it, and then you trust that it has what it needs at that point, And so, as it stands, simply to say, there is this point where life can be so complicated, but is it really life that's complicated? Or is it really the ones that are making it complicated that are living life? You know, I kind of, in a sense of itself, because I was on a live, on social, and, somebody kept on deflecting and kept on, acting like I wasn't asking something and playing it off as what they do in the sense of on like the humorous newscasting kind of a thing, the comedians that are being a newscaster, right, that they will say something serious, right? I mean, like, and it won't even be factual, it's just a puffery piece and a distraction, but they break you down psychologically, or how it's psychologically analyzed essentially is that you don't have time to really process what's going on, and then subconsciously then they kick in a joke right after that, so you don't have time to process what's going on, and then you will get kind of experiencing the whole crowd mentality kind of thing. And so then it's gets sub rooted in your subconscious, basically it gets rooted in there, and then you start acting out or acting from that, you're reacting essentially to from that point, and you don't know why you're doing it. It's like you're acting like Batman when really everyone's like saying, why so serious, let's work through this, and maybe they're not, they're just another Batman from that standpoint because they never worked on themselves, because we do recover, we recover from that pain of not healing and then acting out and then going from there, so we do recover, but the new things, the new potential hurts, and as I see it, addiction, which is just the verb of alcoholism, which alcoholism is just that of a hopeless body, state, and mind in all truthful aspects of itself. So what is that? Depression? Oh, okay. And so we can say, if we're doing the whole depression thing, addiction is just anxiety, right? So alcoholism, depression is that of your passing yourself into depression, and then anxiety is just future tripping into anxiety. So you're just you're not in reality at that point, because somebody said something and it just kind of it's sticking with me, that if you're not approaching it from reality, then you're not approaching it at all. And as I experience, you know, this situation of the events that took place on this live, like, I get everyone's hurt, right? And it's true that history doesn't stop when you don't learn it. It has a tendency to repeat. Now, it's not, from this context of it being that, you know, history history will repeat itself because the truth has not been learned, or somehow the truth has been buried underneath, what we can consider darkness, or whatever, the lack of truth may be. Yet, when we act as if, and we try, we find a sense of, you know, uh, showing our new character, right? We're moving from a reactive state to an action state of getting out of our hurt, and the moments where we filled that void of our heart, and that emptiness in our heart, and became willing to, and open to, and honest by, what is life? How can we get good for ourselves to be good for others? And there's a point where it's like, in this live, that it came down to a very, very simple fact of the matter, that it's weird in the sense of itself of, you know um how they went about it. Like, yes, I get the hurt, but regardless of that, it's like, it's so challenging to explain what's going on. But then, there's this anonymity about it. Like, okay, so when you look at anonymity, it's in a simple way, as I have come to experience the unity, in being able to comprehend losing interest in myself to gain interest in my fellows, and not tarnish anybody's ability to comprehend the understanding of their God, and a sense of what it is to not gossip and not talk behind someone's back, and allow that character of, in that moment of when they have that interaction of what is taking place, the now moment, the strength and recovery, what is actually happening right now, right? So easy is it to forget about all the nice, kind things. Some would say being nice is not everything. And there are points to where I agree with that. That's why they have that, cheesy proverb statement of the nice guy finishes last. Because it's true. You can be too honest. Absolutely. That's being too nice. At such a detriment that you're gonna, you know, be condemned for everything, even though, there's points to where, yes, we have to acknowledge that, have they worked on themselves? Are they being Batman in this? And if they're not, then, there's points. But in truth, being too honest and nice is just not classy, not honorable. You're being too open. You're basically fighting everyone's battle for them. And it's like, what's going on? And maybe you're not even basically doing that, but, I'm just attempting to talk through what I am going through, to not isolate, to not fall into, anything, and give what I have to give, because that's all I have to give. That's truly what it is. And that's the try part of this whole entire recovery thing, right? Because if there's more to life than just recovery, right? Because my intuition said, don't say it. Because somehow I outplayed or I didn't line it up enough or whatever it may be, but I was already saying it and I didn't check in before I said it. And so I already said it, and I'm not going to go off and delete all this and edit it. Like, why? What's the point? This is life. This is life. And based around all my what I have to give, it's this experience of intention, right? So yes, there's points and there's points and there's points, but it absolutely comes down to this very, very simple fact that, to try. Okay, let's test the waters. Let's see how it goes and see how it happens with this of not losing hope and just this recovery lens being highlighted and looked through. That view, that perception, not perceiving, you know, actually living it, being it, and breathing recovery. Because there are so many points, and it's like, why do, as I can kind of go into the ego here, why do I have to go through this and be the best teacher of it, and be the burden of someone else's punching bag, right? And sometimes we all feel that like that, and it doesn't even matter how we rent space in our heads for their moments of how they get to forgive themselves, because that's really what it is. you know it's and then I get to forgive myself for the what we can call pain, or yet loved the teacher of the lesson that we're learning from and we're growing with, and all that kind of stuff. And that's the act as if, you know don't show that my feelings are hurt. They can be, oh my goodness, they can absolutely be hurt, because there's a point where, yes, they were and are, and oh my goodness, you know, but in truth, in absolute truth, there are points in this whole entire existence of life itself that it comes down to this very, very simple fact that, you know, it's okay to try. It is. Because isn't that a starting point? You know, is it might be the wrong thing, okay. But if you don't do anything, which is worse than doing the wrong thing, and doing the wrong thing is at least getting closer towards doing the right thing, then is that really the wrong thing? Did you not fail first attempt in learning, right? And maybe you did fail. Maybe, and that's okay. But what is not okay is to stay just okay. Yes, there's a point where it's okay to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's truly okay. And yet, hurt people hurt people. Unhurt people unhurt people. And that's truly a gift. This hurt, this pain, this trying, this doing, oh my goodness, all of it's just so much, and it's a lot. But in truth, how do we get good for ourselves to be good for others? It doesn't matter how everything plays out, because there's a point in like, have you ever experienced, because I have, that of, I don't remember what I just did 5 seconds ago. Like, quite literally, I don't remember. But it's okay, because I didn't do a wrong thing. I didn't act out a character of this new character that I am. Maybe I always have been this character. I just learned how to not be so angry, right? And so I get to find peace in that. And so, yeah, I might not remember what I did just 5 seconds ago, and I might need to bust out my breadcrumb, picker upper, because I need to ask what's going on. What did I actually say? I don't really remember. There's points. To the very, very simple fact of the matter is that regardless if I remember or I don't remember, recall or I don't recall, it doesn't, there's so many points. It doesn't even matter because I'm coming from this moment of time of being kind and rewinding everything I've ever thought was in a moment of at that time was right, but it isn't always necessarily right in the next one. And that's why I know that even if you do the right thing, you can still improve. You are always constantly growing. Step 11, in my experience, is just improving. How can you improve? Step 10 is, okay, keep going, but if you're wrong, you use step 11, right? You do the prayer and the meditation, you ask and you listen. So it comes to that point. How do I still be good for me? How do I get good? Maybe I've always been good, but just my approach isn't as clear, or is it that somehow I'm not using moderation and I'm just everyone's shut down? I have very good valid points and I just cannot find that follow through by everyone else, holding me up. So are they the weakest link because I'm the strength? Or am I their strength because I'm the weakest link? Because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so here is, this is called the living sermon. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I rather one should walk with me than merely show me the way. I can soon learn how to do it if you'd let me see it done. I can watch your hands in action, but your tongue too fast may run. All the lectures you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. Though I might not understand you and the fine advice you give, there is no mistaking how you act and how you live. So in that sense, is trying really such a bad thing? Is acting as if really such a bad thing? You're trying to do right, but sometimes you're only wrong. You're acting as if you can do it, and sometimes you can't. And that's okay. That's real life. That is not fitting yourself into somebody else's box. And it is so true that we sometimes only ever approach life in that sense. And it is so challenging. It's hard, and it's almost just unreal on how we feel after the fact of just being unrevealed, of just this pain of just too much. But it's okay to be okay. Hurt people, and unhurt people unhurt people. But who do you want to be today? That is truly what it is. Truly what it is. And it's okay. I love you. I love this life I have now. Yeah, I fell into recovery, but in truth, I'm glad all this hurt. Yeah, it's not that I still don't get triggered, because I do. Those moments of sadness, oh my goodness. I see something on TV or whatever it is, and I'm like, oh man, that was a bad moment in my experience. That wasn't really happy. It was happy when it was happening. But I'm sad now because the outcome of what happened was just became sad. It hurt, and I want to say sorry, but I know I can only live today in this moment, changing my ways by trying and acting as if, almost being condemned a hypocrite, because whatever it may be, that's not even the point. The point is trying and acting as if is okay. I used to think it wasn't, but now I know it's okay. So please remember that it's okay to just be okay. Hurt people, and unhurt people. It's as simple as that. In truth be told, you always deserve to take up space. Your shoes always fit just right. I can't stop you from living, but I can stop me from not living. But I'm choosing to live today. Thank you.